effectively hit him.
No shame.
Stanley.
We have exhausted all tactical options.
Still working the bug out. That's the problem with new technology.
Do something, Rhay.
Goodbye.
Disc Brantner. Circ Brantner. We shoot, brother. I want you to carry that junkie on your back. Let's solve your problem for you. Yeah, split him open. It took forever, because you wailed like a little baby. There's no soldier that day.
To California, I'm now going to trial on the 28th of this month. This is my last shot. If I lose this trial, my son will be castrated in November.
So real quick, how do you know that? Because from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong here, right? From what I understand, there are still orders in place, which now again, I understand that these sort of orders become really, really problematic when California doesn't recognize, the orders coming from Texas. But originally, my understanding is that, again, both of you had say, so you both had to bless off on puberty blockers or any sort of surgery. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also important for people to understand, and I want clarification on this as well, because there's two ways that whole castration can take place. There's chemical, and then there's surgical. Yes. Is the concern right now that if you lose this case, that essentially, even if the Texas order still stands, there will be legally nothing you can do about it within the state of California, and your ex-wife has already demonstrated that she was going to go through with it?
No, my ex-wife has actually filed to remove the permanent injunction, which prevents us from doing these procedures. And she has specifically said that my son is now in Tanner stage 4 puberty, and it's an emergency, that he must be chemically castrated as an emergency. To California, I'm now going to trial on the 28th of this month. This is my last shot. If I lose this trial, my son will be castrated in November. The 28th of this month. This is my last shot. If I lose this trial, my son will be castrated in November.
Thank you very much. This is 8 days that we've all been sitting in this courthouse. This is all a Biden indictment. It's in order to try and win an election, political opponent, and nothing like this has ever happened. 8 days. As you know, the economy's falling apart now. Now you're seeing it. Very little growth. It's going to get worse. Oil prices are going up. You have the college campuses all over closed down. Our country's going to hell. And we sit here day after day after day, which is their plan. Because they think they might be able to eke out an election, but I doubt it. But the poll numbers are very good for us. I just want to say that I've invited Biden to debate. He can do it anytime he wants, including tonight. Ready? Here we are. I invited him to the courthouse that he has us tied up in. His administration. This is all being done through Washington. It's all a well-coordinated attack on a political opponent. But I'm here. I'm ready, willing, and able, and if he wants, I'll do it on Monday night, Tuesday night, or Wednesday night. We'll be in Michigan, a state that he's destroyed because of the auto industry. We're not going to have any jobs left in Michigan, no auto jobs left in Michigan. They're all going over to China and other places with his ridiculous EV mandate, electric vehicle mandate. But we're willing to do it Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, or Friday night on national television. We're ready. Just tell me where. We'll do it in the White House. That would be very comfortable, actually. But you tell me where. But we're ready. He's obviously not showing up now. We heard nothing. But he said today that, I'd love to debate, but he won't debate. I don't think he'll debate. Maybe he will. Maybe he will. I'm not sure he has a choice. But that's the story. So here we are. We're ready, willing, and able. And we don't see him, and I don't think he'll be here. But maybe next week he'll do it. I doubt it, but maybe next week. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I know you have to suffer through this like everybody else. Nothing has come. This is a case that should have never been brought. Every legal scholar, every legal expert, Andy McCarthy, Jonathan, Andy, every single one. Jonathan Carelli came out with a scathing report on this trial today. Andy McCarthy, scathing report. Mark Levin, can't believe this is happening in our country. There's no case here. There's no case whatsoever. It's a disgrace. We have a conflicted judge, and it shouldn't be happening. Not in this country. Thank you very much. Do you think you beat Biden today?
I've had conversations with people. They go, well, Trump's a felon. He's convicted 34 felonies. I go, okay, do you know what those things are? Do you know that they are misdemeanors?
Misdemeanors. Do you know that the statute of limitations had run out on this little misdemeanor?
Yeah, the whole thing
it wasn't
is
a campaign contribution. That they just did all kind of gymnastics to make it happen, and then the third person in the line in the Justice Department comes back to New York to oversee this case.
It's just incredibly
incredible.
dangerous. It's incredibly dangerous
because it can also be turned around.
Yes.
And there has to come a point where we go, stop.
Blessings to you and your family. So in case you didn't know, Donald Trump finally addressed the Epstein Island list situation, and I have to say I like where this is going. Please expose them all.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island.
Good.
Fortunately.
Good.
But a lot of people did.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. They do that for danger, too, because, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
That's great to hear.
Like I said, expose them all.
Jeffrey Epstein's suicide, your experience as a prosecutor, how does this happen when he's supposed to be on suicide watch? And secondly, how do victims get justice?
I actually have tracked deaths in custody when I was Attorney General, and there are a lot of issues to unpack in that. I think that the case is obviously very new, and we'll see what the circumstances are. I have no inside information about it. But certainly when we are talking about what we are doing in prisons, there is a lot of reform that is needed. And that relates to everything I've worked on for years around what we need in solitary confinement of not only adults but all minors. Work we need to do around incarcerated women that I have been a champion on. Where women are shackled even during pregnancy and childbirth. So there is a lot of work to do across the board in terms of oversight and accountability as it relates to I will also say on that subject that we also have to understand that this administration has really supported also private prisons. And when I'm elected, I will shut them down. I will shut down private detention centers because we never want to be in the business of having United States taxpayer dollars go to an industry. Its very business model is about profiting off the incarceration of other human beings, including what I saw when I went to Homestead, Florida, which was a private detention facility that currently houses 2,700 children in a private detention facility, which means that your taxpayer dollars are going to fund the profit of the incarceration of children. So.
Back on Jeffrey Epstein, they also support a congressional investigation into his suicide and his crime.
I don't know enough about the Epstein case to comment on that. I just heard about it.
Audit clear. Standing by for 6.
You little shit. Little shit. What game you playing? What game you playing? Well, doing 6 spooky things.
Go to 7. Go, 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 go. No! No! Go back! Go back! Hey! Come here.
Never in a million years I would have thought that they were going to charge me for Sells murder. I never talked to no detective, no police officer, no DA, nobody.
Just arrested and then charged.
Arrested and charged, that's it.
Was the first time you saw Kamala Harris in person the day that the verdict was issued?
She showed up at the 2 most pivotal times in this first trial, and me being convicted and me being sentenced. She wanted to be present for a celebration of a conviction.
That's what it felt like, a celebration?
A celebration, that's what it felt like. The reactions I get when I tell people my story is, they say it's the worst nightmare. You know, it's the closest thing to dying.
Really?
Yep. Now! Come on!
Let me ask you this question, very broadly speaking. Sure. Do you believe that transgender Americans should have access to gender-affirming care in this country?
I believe we should follow the law. I mean, I think you're probably pointing to the fact that Donald Trump's campaign has spent tens of millions of dollars.
They're trying to define you on this.
Yes.
I'm asking you to define yourself, though. Just broadly speaking, what is your value? Do you believe they should have that access?
I believe that people, as the law states, even on this issue about federal law, that is a decision that doctors will make in terms of what is medically necessary. I'm not going to put myself in the position of a doctor.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day 1, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policy taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures, and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
standing here were it not for the education I received. And I know many of us will say the same thing. And I believe a child going without an education is tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it. And this is what we did. We recognized that in that initiative, as a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. The school district has got a carrot. Let's work in tandem around our collective objective and goal, which is to get those kids in school. So, to that end, on my letterhead, now let me tell you something about my letterhead. When you're the DA of a major city in this country, usually the job comes with a badge. And there is often an artistic rendering of said badge on your stationery. So, I sent a letter out on my letterhead to every parent in the school district, outlining the connection that was statistically proven between elementary school truancy, high school dropouts, who will become a victim of crime, and who will become a perpetrator. We sent it out to everyone. A friend of mine actually called me and he said, Kamala, my wife got the letter. She freaked out. She brought all the kids into the living room, held up the letter, said, if you don't go to school, Kamala's gonna put you and me in jail.
President, it was my honor to support America's homeschool families and to protect the God-given right of every parent to be the steward of their children's education. Since the China virus, America has seen an estimated 30% increase in homeschool enrollment. When I am re-elected, I will do everything I can to support parents who make the courageous choice of homeschool. Under the Trump tax cuts, we allowed families to use 529 education savings accounts to spend up to $10,000 a year tax-free on tuition for grades K through 12. This was a tremendous win for school choice, very important, school choice, remember that term. And yet that benefit did not apply to homeschoolers. So to support the growing homeschool movement, in my next term, I will immediately fight to allow homeschool parents the same incredible benefit, $10,000 a year per child, completely tax-free to spend on costs associated with homeschool education. I will also work to ensure that every homeschool family is entitled to full access to the benefits available to non-homeschool students, including participating in athletic programs, clubs, after-school activities, educational trips, and more. To every homeschool family, I will be your champion. Do not vote Democrat. They are looking to destroy you. If you don't mind my saying that, Joe Biden can't put two sentences together, and yet he's looking to destroy you. Do not vote Democrat. Do not vote for Crooked Joe. Vote for Honest Donald. Thank you very much.
Measure around marriage. That seems to be headed maybe to the Supreme Court, maybe not. What do you think the future is?
Well, first of all, I think that Prop 8 is, as the court has declared, unconstitutional. And you know, when we've been talking about just the history of the Bay Area, I am a daughter of parents who met when they were active in the civil rights movement. And the idea that we still in 2012 have a group of people who are second-class citizens who do not have rights equal to others is ridiculous. It really is. I mean, just think about it conceptually. It's just wrong. And I think California has made the right decision. The Ninth Circuit made the right decision in terms of what's going to happen here, which is that it's unconstitutional. And I hope the United States Supreme Court does the right thing. Just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible.
Wow. What?
Just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible.
Wow. What?
Just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible. There are so many layers of problems in that statement, a profound misunderstanding, or perhaps just an outright denial of the Fourth Amendment, the Second Amendment, and the Constitution. And it goes so deep that we actually wind up running afoul of another document called the Magna Carta.
Over 4 incredible years, we achieved more for the great state of Arizona than any president, and much more than any thought even possible. We ended the disaster known as NAFTA. We all said it couldn't be done. The worst trade deal ever made, and we replaced it with the USMCA. It's Mexico and Canada. In fact, they want to renegotiate the deal right now. Don't do it. It's the best trade deal made in this country in many, many decades. It was a massive win for Arizona workers. You remember NAFTA, how bad it was. It was a one-sided deal where Mexico and Canada were just doing numbers on you like nobody thought possible. So now we have a big deal. We stood up for our amazing veterans with VA choice and VA accountability. Trying to get it for 58 years. VA choice. Think of it. So now if you're not well, you don't have to wait 7 weeks on a line. If you wait more than 2 hours or 3 hours, they have some great doctors there. But if you have to wait 2 or 3 hours, you go and you go to a local doctor, we pay for it, and we take care of you. You don't die. You don't die. We lowered drug prices and Medicare premiums for Arizona seniors like you've never seen before, and I signed an executive order to confront the tragic issue of missing and murdered Native Americans, which is a big problem. We fought for Arizona, and we won for Arizona, and with the thundering victory for Republicans this November, we will fight and win for Arizona again. You're going to see some big changes with the people that you've just met. One of the first things we will do is to stand up for parents' rights. Who would believe that? Now, I'm just thinking to myself, who would believe we're even saying that? We're going to stand up for parents' rights. Now think of that statement. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stand up for parents' rights. Who the hell wouldn't stand up for parents' rights? Who would think of it? So many of these things. Who would think we have open borders where everybody comes into our country? Who would think they want to attack our Second Amendment? We want to protect ourselves from these people, from people that are coming in, from criminals. Who would think these things?
We have the dumbest people in history running our country. Okay? The dumbest in history. And we have to get these people. So we brought it back at all. But what's happening to our country is being poisoned, and your schools and your children are suffering greatly because they're going into the classrooms, they're taking the seats, and they don't even speak English. It's crazy. And we have our people that aren't going into a classroom. We have students that were there last year. They're not allowed into the school this year. They're not allowed. It's crazy. We have the dumbest people in history running our country. Okay? The dumbest in history. And we have to get these people. So we brought it back at all. But what's happening to our country is being poisoned, and your schools and your children are suffering greatly because they're going into the classrooms, they're taking disease, and they don't even speak English. It's crazy. And we have our people that aren't going into a classroom. We have students that were there last year. They're not allowed into the school this year.
What a mess.
During campaign stops, former President Trump is asking the old question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And Trump has now gotten a response from President Biden, who says, quote, well, Donald, I'm glad you asked that question, man, because I hope everyone in the country takes a minute to think back to what it was like in March of 2020. Common sense would like to rewind the clock. In March of 2020, AAA says the average price of gas was $1.99 a gallon. Today it's $3.53. Mortgage rates in March 2020 averaged 3.29%. Today it's 7.2%. Food up 25%. Rent 22% up. Credit card debt 47% up. In 4 years, the illegal immigration population has gone up by 8 to 9 million. Homelessness, crime also up. In fairness, some things are down, like test scores, arrests, and national pride.
I don't even understand the concept of not being. The parents truly love the kids, okay? Some of these people on the boards, I think they don't like the kids very much, what they're doing. So you have to give the rights back to the parents.
They called us domestic terrorists, President Trump, for speaking out at school board meetings.
Well, we'll change that on the first day.
Well, that was former President Trump taking a stand at the 3rd annual Moms for Liberty Joyful Warriors Summit. On stage with Trump last night was Tiffany Justice, the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, and she joins us now. It's really great to have you on. So the pandemic is over, but the fight for kids, as you know, is still on. What are the issues that you are focusing on with Moms for Liberty right now moving forward?
Yeah, having President Trump on stage last night was absolutely amazing. And when he said that he was going to help us to restore our parental rights on day one, the whole room erupted. These are moms whose kids were kicked out of school, who've gone to school board meetings and were called domestic terrorists. So to have the former president, and perhaps the future president of the United States, stand up for parents is just awesome.
So the other ticket, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, by the way, Tim Walz, a teacher himself, were they invited also at some point to Moms for Liberty?
They absolutely were. We extended an invitation originally to President Biden and then Vice President Harris once she became the candidate, and we received no response.
And so why, and I know you're personally supporting, the organization is a nonprofit, it's non-political. You personally are supporting Donald Trump. What is it about Donald Trump in particular that you think is going to be best for parents who care about parental rights in schools?
We talked last night about President Trump being a father, a grandfather. He truly understands the need to protect parental rights. He said that, he's a common sense type of guy, and he can't believe that anyone doesn't stand for parental rights. The concern right now is that a Harris-Walz ticket is the most radical anti-parent ticket that we could possibly have from the Democrats. My message to moms is you need to go vote, you need to get out and tell your friends to vote, and we need to fight like a mother.
Oh, I love that. The other troubling thing that happened during the Biden-Harris administration was the weaponization of the FBI against Moms for Liberty. Did Donald Trump speak to you, did the former president speak to you about what he would do to make sure that those agencies, law enforcement, would be weaponized against parents, of all things?
I think President Trump himself has dealt with lawfare and the weaponization of the federal government against him and his family, and so he absolutely understands the concern that we have. These are everyday moms and dads who are just trying to make ends meet, which is getting harder and harder every day. And
hello, Navarro, suck any good lately. What's wrong, Navarro? I think you like a big in your mouth. Ha ha ha. Page 23. The other boy, page 23. Here it is. What's the educational benefit of talking about? What's the educational benefit of talking about that? Is that going to help someone on the SAT score? Hear me kind. Get a shot at that. She can care less. That's a sign. She needs to put down her sign. Oh, you put me out. For what? For asking you to abide by the rules. A board member held up a sign, but the audience couldn't hold up signs. This is tyranny, and we're dealing with a corrupt government system.
So many of you have asked, why am I here at this facility? And I will tell you, it is because right now in our country we are facing a very serious health crisis. And the crisis is affecting many, many people in our country, most of whom are frankly silently suffering. After the United States Supreme Court took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, from the women of America, in states around our country.
Missouri's Attorney General is accusing Planned Parenthood of trafficking children out of the state to get abortions. Tonight, Planned Parenthood fires back, saying that evidence comes from a staged video by a group trying to target abortion rights.
Is announcing the opening of a new mega facility close to states where abortion access is restricted. The new clinic was built in secret in Illinois near the Missouri border. Missouri has some of the strictest abortion laws in the country. CBS News reporter Kate Smith visited the facility as it was being built. She's been reporting on abortion issues since last year. Kate, welcome to the table. And start us off, what's the significance of this new clinic? I keep hearing it's ginormous and big.
Exactly. So in recent months, states across the South and Midwest, they've been implementing stricter and stricter anti-abortion laws. But this new clinic is in Illinois, where the state is moving in the opposite direction.
So this is the site of our brand new building here in Illinois.
We first visited the new clinic in August. The sensitive project was being built in secret under the codename Alaska. Dr. Colleen McNicholas showed us around.
We know that our colleagues at other Planned Parenthoods and independent abortion clinics across the country have had difficulty opening new clinics. Things as simple as getting the phone company to come in and put phone and data lines. Things like the cabinet makers not showing up to deliver once they knew that that facility was going to be an abortion facility.
The 18,000 square foot building cost nearly $7 million to build. Planned Parenthood estimates the new office can handle up to 11,000 patients a year.
Extremists have proposed and passed laws that have denied women access to reproductive health care. And the stories abound. I have heard stories of and have met with women who had miscarriages in toilets. Women who were being denied emergency care because the healthcare providers there at an emergency room were afraid that because of the laws in their state that they could be criminalized, sent to prison for providing health care. So I'm here at this healthcare clinic to uplift the work that is happening in Minnesota as an example of what true leadership looks like, which is to understand it is only right and fair that people have access to the health care they need, and that they have access to health care in an environment where they are treated with dignity and respect. And please do understand that when we
talk about a clinic such as this. It is absolutely about healthcare and reproductive healthcare. So everyone get ready for the language. Uterus. That part of the body needs a lot of medical care from time to time. Issues like fibroids. We can handle this. Breast cancer screenings. Contraceptive care. That is the kind of work that happens here. In addition, of course, to abortion care. So to have laws in states that have caused clinics like this to shut down so that women have no access within any reasonable distance of where they live to get this vital care that is necessary to address their health needs and concerns. So again, I say thank you to the governor, the congresswoman, the mayor, and the doctor, and all those who work here, and the staff. This work includes having people here who go out and talk to young people, our young people in high schools. And sadly, in so many places around our country, sex ed is a thing of the past, which leaves our young people to learn about their bodies and reproductive systems on social media, often with a profound amount of misinformation which leaves them confused about what is happening to their own bodies. The work that happens here is about providing assistance to women who do not live in the state of Minnesota, because sadly, this state exists in a neighborhood where laws have been passed to deny people reproductive health care, and so women have to travel here. You know, the majority of women who receive an abortion are mothers. God help her that she's got affordable child care. If she is working, God help her, she's got paid family leave. So she can figure out how is she going to get to the place that will provide her the care she needs. Well, the work that happens in a clinic like this includes answering those questions for someone who might be in great distress, letting her know what is available to her in terms of transportation, in terms of housing or hotel, what is available to her in terms of assistance for her child care needs. So I'll close with this. In this environment, these attacks against an individual's right to make decisions about their own body are outrageous and in many instances just plain old immoral. How dare these elected leaders believe they are in a better position to tell women what they need, to tell women what is in their best interest. We have to be a nation that trusts women. And with that,
David Daleiden is the pro-life citizen journalist behind the Center for Medical Progress and its undercover Planned Parenthood videos. We sat down with him last week to get the latest on his legal battles, and it became clear very quickly that Daleiden had a number of legal run-ins with former California Attorney General and now a Democratic presidential candidate, Kamala Harris. That's where we pick up our conversation for this week's Pro-Life Focus. Tell us more about your encounters with her and a raid on your apartment.
Yeah. So in April of 2016, at the behest of Planned Parenthood, Kamala Harris ordered a search warrant served on my home in Orange County. I think it was a total of 11 agents of the California Department of Justice sent by Kamala Harris came in, overturned my entire one-bedroom apartment. They seized all of the video recording equipment, all of my computer equipment, everything that was, all the electronic equipment that was used to do the undercover filming. Fortunately, there were backup hard drives and attorneys had copies of stuff and other things. So they didn't take anything that I absolutely needed in order to continue to do my work, but they primarily they were looking for the videos, and they were looking for the original videos. We have in the investigator notes from the Attorney General's office now. They recorded in their case notes Planned Parenthood specifically requesting of Kamala Harris's office that they would specifically go in and seize the videos from me. So they were trying to take all the raw footage away and trying to do a huge cover-up. They weren't successful at doing that, but that's just one of many things that Kamala Harris, as Attorney General of California, was willing to do to put the powers of her law enforcement office at the service of the interests of a powerful and favored political backer at Planned Parenthood.
That being said, she is a likely 2020 presidential candidate. What do you want viewers to know about her as we see that she will likely run?
Yeah, I just saw her recently on, I think it was MSNBC, talking about the confirmation hearings of William Barr, who's the new nominee for Attorney General. And Senator Harris was opining that really nominee Barr, if confirmed, probably she thinks should recuse himself from the Russia investigation because of some op-eds he's written about the Mueller probe or something like that. Well, when Kamala Harris had the Planned Parenthood case, which was the investigation of me, brought before her as Attorney General, while she was running for U.S. Senate, while Planned Parenthood in California was contributing to her political campaign and she was fundraising for them, fundraising off of her goodwill with Planned Parenthood for her senatorial campaign, did she recuse herself from the Planned Parenthood investigation? No, she didn't. In fact, she didn't even set up, they sometimes talk about having a wall of separation in the prosecutor's office in order to make sure that there's no improper crossover. Not only did she not recuse, did she not set up a wall of separation, she consciously and willfully involved herself directly and personally in the Planned Parenthood case. She had an in-person meeting with 6 Planned Parenthood executives from California in Los Angeles 2 weeks before the raid on my apartment. We have the action item notes and the email from her assistant from that meeting. Wow. They show that among the Planned Parenthood folks present, 2 of them were witnesses in the criminal investigation that Kamala Harris's office was orchestrating against me and Sandra. And they show that the agenda items that Kamala Harris discussed with those Planned Parenthood witnesses and representatives at that meeting included both Planned Parenthood's political agenda in California and issues in the criminal investigation. So there was a direct mixing of her political roles and political agenda and campaign agenda and political agenda of an outside third party, directly mixed in, inseparable from her role as a law enforcement officer.
That is some powerful insight right there. You mentioned William Barr. He is currently in the confirmation process for him to become potentially the next Attorney General of the United States. He's a fellow Catholic as well. If he is in fact confirmed, what action would you like to see him take and for the Department of Justice to take on Planned Parenthood?
I really hope that the Department of Justice will start to do its job and hold Planned Parenthood accountable to the law the same way that any other organization or any other entity should be held accountable to the law. I think there's a great irony of the past 2 years here with the Department of Justice that DOJ and FBI have been rather vigorously investigating and prosecuting a group of Native Americans in North and South Dakota who were trafficking and selling in the body parts of bald eagles. And they were harvesting and selling bald eagle body parts across the country for profit. And they have been vigorously investigated and indicted and prosecuted by the U.S. Department of Justice. And yet, meanwhile, it's been 2 years and Planned Parenthood still hasn't been indicted or prosecuted for harvesting and selling the body parts of tiny preborn children. And you would think that, especially under a pro-life administration, that surely the body parts of unborn children and the trafficking and selling of baby body parts is just as horrific and just of as much concern as the harvesting and selling and trafficking of bald eagle body parts. So, we did get some good news about a year ago. It was announced by the US DOJ that they had opened an active criminal investigation of some of the biggest Planned Parenthood affiliates in the country, plus their business partners, based on the criminal referrals from the congressional investigations that were very good and very thorough. So it's been about a year now. The public hasn't heard anything since, but I do hope that if someone as experienced as Attorney General Barr were to be confirmed, I mean, maybe not even before the confirmation, but really it's been a year now, and I think it's important for people to see that nobody is above the law, and DOJ should do their job on this the same way that they're doing their job on eagle body parts. It should be done on baby body parts as well.
We'll bring you part 2 of our interview with David Daleiden next week.
Everything Kamala says is a lie. She has no vision, no ideas. She has no solutions for anything. In fact, all she could talk about, this was the other night, they'd ask her a question, she'd say, Donald Trump did this, Donald Trump did that. All she can say is, Donald Trump.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I will speak about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, 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 Trump.
What the hell did I have to do with it? That's all she talks. What are you going to do for the economy? Donald Trump? Man, is she bad?
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. Got a lot of killers. What, you think our country's so innocent? You think our country's so innocent?
I don't know of any government leaders that are killers anymore.
Well, take a look at what we've done too. We've made a lot of mistakes. I've been against the war in Iraq from the beginning.
Yeah, mistakes are different than...
A lot of mistakes, okay, but a lot of people were killed. So, a lot of killers around, believe me.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for being here. In September of 2021, Mr. Secretary, records obtained by the National Institute of Health regarding a $1.5 million grant to the University of Pittsburgh to provide fetal tissue for research related to genitourinary tract issues, kidney, bladder, etc., raised concerns that the university may have violated the law by altering abortion procedures solely for the purpose of obtaining fetal tissue, and that aborted babies were born alive and killed by organ harvesting. I and my colleagues have written several letters concerning this matter. We remain concerned that the university may have violated the law and NIH regulations. If the tissue being used for this research was derived from aborted babies who were born alive and then killed by organ or tissue harvesting, would that be a violation of law?
Congressman, there are absolutely standards that have been set for the use of fetal tissue. There are laws in place to make sure we're protecting the practice of securing that fetal tissue. And I think all of us understand are very mindful of the importance of making sure that we do this the right way. Fetal tissue has been instrumental in helping so many Americans find life-saving treatment, and we have to make sure that we are respectful of the standards that are in place to make sure it can be done in the right way.
Thank you for that. So you do agree that the federal government has a duty to ensure taxpayer dollars are not used for illegal harvesting of fetal tissue?
We have to make sure that no taxpayer dollars are used in ways that are not appropriate under the law.
And you mentioned about research that is derived from this. Can you name a single clinical treatment that has utilized fetal tissue research in this development? Because I was not able to identify.
Coming from California, where we actually passed an initiative, statewide initiative, that provided monies to set up a center to do the research and help promote this within the private sector so we can harness the energies and the science.
Yeah, but the vice president's agreed, among the multiple other things that have happened in the meeting, and I appreciate it, agreed to lead our diplomatic effort and work with those nations to accept the Chinese and enhance migration enforcement at their borders. We're already talking with Mexico about that. She's already done that. We're going to be dealing with a full team now that we have to be able to deal with the problem here at home, but also to deal with it now in terms of in country. And I can think of nobody who's better qualified to do this than this is a woman who ran the second largest Attorney General's office in America after the United States Attorney General in the state of California, and has done a great deal upholding human rights, but also fighting organized crime in the process. So,
Biden and Harris, they became our #1 trading partner, and they're ripping us off left and right. It's ridiculous. They're not going to rip us off. They wanted $3 billion to meet. Right? They wouldn't have said that. I would have said, "You want $3 billion to meet?" I do the opposite. If you don't give us $3 billion, I'll oppose the biggest frickin' tax. You know, I've never told you any of this, and I wanted to wait till the day because I don't want to have her. She's a low IQ individual. I don't want to have her say. That's you know, I had an idea last night while I was sleeping, turning, tossing, sweating. Because I sleep, I turn and I toss and I sweat and I sleep like I don't even sleep. You know, I've gone through 62 days without a day off. Every single day. And you know what? She takes a day off every other day. Last week, she makes a terrible little, she has these press conferences that last for about 2 minutes. And then she takes the day off. You know, when you're running for the president of the United States and you want to do it because you have to fix the country, that's the way I'm doing it. Otherwise, I can be the most gorgeous beaches in the world right now. But I'd much rather be with you people because you people I like you people better.
Taking on the border crisis today, putting Vice President Kamala Harris in charge.
Federal facilities being overwhelmed by the number of unaccompanied minors arriving each and every day. DC Bureau Chief Ben Kennedy joins us live with more. Ben.
Well, Nicole, this is a key assignment for Vice President Harris. It's a bit of an uphill battle. She admits it'll not be easy, but she says it is so important.
yeah, but the Vice President's agreed
To be the point person on immigration.
Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job.
There's no question that this is a challenging situation.
The situation centers around the biggest surge in migrants to cross the U.S.-Mexico border in 20 years. Facilities are overflowing with people. Many are children.
Children should be moving more quickly through those facilities. That is what our policy central focus is right now.
The Biden administration has lost control of the southern border.
But the White House says not true and blames the previous administration.
So this new surge we're dealing with now started with the last administration, but it's our responsibility to deal with it humanely.
The VP is tasked to stem the influx of migrants, deal with the root cause driving them to the U.S., and to lead diplomatic efforts.
I look forward to engaging in diplomacy with government, with private sector, with civil society, and the leaders of each in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras.
And Vice President Harris is only 3 hours into her new assignment. So far, no word of any travel plans. The White House did, however, send a team to the border this week to meet with Mexican leaders.
You know, it's funny how she claims that there wasn't a border issue before, but now she's running on fixing.
Would you call the border secure?
The border is secure.
You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border. After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law.
We had an illegal immigrant, El Mano Negro. He was a hired hand by the cartel. We arrested, and finally he admitted to killing and assassinating over 25 people in our county at the hands of the cartel. We just unraveled a cartel in our county, dismantling that cartel. The people in that cartel that we arrested openly admitted that within the last 3 years, it's easier now to move human beings, drugs, guns, fentanyl most specifically across the border, and that it's easier now than in the history of their cartel. I can tell you because of the Biden and Harris administration, law enforcement resources are quickly depleted. We have victim after victim that we see as you hear today.
Tonight, Vice President Harris in Mexico, meeting with the Mexican president.
You can't say you care about the border without caring about the root causes.
Part of her first foreign trip, targeting the root causes of the record migrant surge. I spoke to her last night in Guatemala.
You have a message for would-be migrants. Don't come.
Do not come. Do not come.
The notion that the border is closed. Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in?
Well, Lester, here's the thing. I've been working on this issue for a very long time. And the kind of violence and danger that is associated with that trek, especially when we're talking about from Guatemala through Mexico to the United States, it's extremely dangerous. And the reason that I am in Guatemala is to address the reasons people leave home, flee. Knowing that the people who are here for generations, or if we know the history of Guatemala for centuries, they want to stay, they don't want to leave, but they need opportunity, they need assistance, they need support.
But Americans don't see
we have the ability to give them that.
Yeah, Americans don't see a lot of that on a daily basis. What they do see at their own border, children being lowered over fences, children coming in with, phone numbers stenciled on their hand.
Yeah.
And so the question has come up, and you heard it here, and you'll hear it again, I'm sure. It's why not visit the border? Why not see what Americans are seeing in this crisis?
Well, we are going to the border. We have to deal with what's happening at the border. There's no question about that. That's not a debatable point. But we have to understand that there's a reason people are arriving at our border, and ask what is that reason, and then identify the problem so we can fix it.
What do you tell a Guatemalan family? We've heard you say don't come, but they're facing the end. There's poverty, there's disease, all these things happening at once. You tell them don't come?
We don't want, listen, I don't think that Americans want people to be exposed to harm if they can avoid it. They're taking the trek from the place that they know that they want to stay. So I'm here in Guatemala to say, what can we do to support people and to give them a sense of hope that help is on the way.
The administration looking to inject billions of dollars in aid to this region to help reduce that migrant surge. In April, nearly 180,000 migrants were apprehended by U.S. Border Patrol, the highest number in 20 years. And more unaccompanied migrant children come from Guatemala than anywhere else.
Over 16,000 unaccompanied children tonight in custody. What's victory look like in this, or what does improvement look like?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I would suggest to you that we have seen progress already. When we have 12 of the biggest corporations of America who have, I convened them in my office and they have agreed to help us work on this issue. Success so far is the bringing together of community-based organizations, not only in the United States, but here in Guatemala. Today, that was one of my meetings with civil society leaders, to let them know we see them, we understand their concerns about corruption, and we also understand their role of leadership to help us in terms of how we prioritize our work in this region.
So how quickly does this change what we see at the border?
I don't know that we're going to see it. Listen, I've been very clear from the beginning. There's not going to be a quick fix. So we've seen progress, but the real work is going to take time to manifest itself. Will it be worth it? Yes. Will it take some time? Yes.
There's one other topic I wanted to talk to you about, but let me just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border. I'm in Guatemala because my focus is dealing with the root causes of migration. There may be some who think that is not important, but it is my firm belief that if we care about what's happening at the border,
We better care about the root causes and address them. And so that's what I'm doing.
It's not the only tough issue President Biden has handed his vice president, also recently asking her to oversee the effort to pass the Democrats' new voting bill. But a blow this weekend when a key Democratic senator, Joe Manchin, said he would not support what he called partisan voting legislation.
So where does that leave the effort?
Well, we're very
Just a cut.